We're here to talk about C-level, executive level, highest points of corporate business candidates. And you have a long and illustrious career in placing candidates at the C-level, building brands, building teams. Can you give everybody just an idea of kind of your background and your experience?
Sure. Well, I'm glad to be here, John, and I appreciate this very much, the opportunity to talk about something I'm so very passionate about. Look, I'm a consumer product goods guy. I'm a CPG guy. I've been over 30 years doing this, and I created a company, Turner Lane Advisory Group, and I created it in a way that it allows me to utilize my background in consumer products and what I've done in consumer products. You know, I started out with a company, Beecham Products, going into grocery stores and drugstores and selling over-the-counter consumer goods to those type of outlets.
Right.
And that company then went on and became part of Glaxo, right? And then I went to Hubeline, which is an adult beverage company. At that time, it was obviously based in Connecticut. And that became Diageo. And I had a really nice career there in a leadership role. Grew into leadership roles in that environment. And then I joined some folks at a company that was focused completely on executive search and search in consumer products. You can see the theme.
Right.
And in that, I got a real opportunity to, in all of my experience, and capping it off with the last experience in the executive search arena, which I did over 20 years. I started in that arena in 2000. So did that over 20 some odd years. And I got a chance to really look inside of companies and see what works and what doesn't work. And I really found that I had this passion for being involved and engaged with early stage and startup related type consumer product goods businesses. And that became something that I couldn't stop thinking about, man. I really couldn't stop thinking that I want to somehow wake up every morning and engage that type of environment.
Right.
So over a year and a half ago, I made the decision to do that. So hence Turner Lane Advisory Group. So I get a chance to spend time with leaders and founders of businesses and help them drive their idea into reality and to exit.
Right. So I feel in 2025 specifically this year,
Yeah.
man, there's a sea change happening in that branding has changed. And those who are going to be successful, and this is my opinion,
Okay.
those who are going to be successful are going to be at the top of the crest, constantly looking and saying, what's the new method? Trying different things, trying new things. You build teams and you take brands to the market. What new strategies, new technologies are you seeing? Maybe social media, maybe we'll talk a little bit about AI.
Well,
How are you building brands today?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because, when I entered into CPG decades ago, really, and to now, the constant agitator, the constant deliverer of change and the driver of what is done differently has been technology. Right? Technology has been the agitator throughout my career. And I think other folks would say the same thing. It is technology, how it changed how you build a brand. It changed how you do an executive search. It changed how you view yourself as a leader, right? If you think about where we are today, you think about the impression that AI has had in business and what is happening in business today. When you start thinking through that, if you are leading or in a leadership environment, how can you not be out front, right? You have to be out front because guess who's watching? Those folks that you are leading. They're watching to see how we're going to utilize this because you know what they're thinking? They're thinking that if we don't dig in now, we're going to be losing and I'm on the wrong team.
Right.
And guess where I'm going? To a leader in another company that is competing with what I like to do, and I'm going to go do that there.
So I think there's a deeper level to that conversation. It's not just within the company. I think that the consumer today wants a personalized approach. And I think that the market wants to know, who are the leaders? What's the vision for the company? Why should I be part of this brand's community?
That's great. Perception is reality, right?
Right.
So consumers, when they see you, now guess what they're seeing you on this device here. They're seeing you. This is the most visible you're going to be. If you can get in their hands, you're winning.
Right.
Right? If you can be on something that they're looking at, you're winning. That's where you have to be. So as a leader, you have to find a way to build a persona for you, your business, your product, your brand.
Right.
Right?
So one of the reasons we started Podstyle, as you know, being our strategic advisor, we looked around and we realized there was no one providing this type of very specific professional content for the executive level, for the business owner.
Right.
And so we also realized that you have to set yourself apart.
You do.
But I have really two-part question.
Okay.
This is what we're doing here at Podstyle. It's just a new way to think about this medium. It's very powerful.
Yeah, very.
But my position is when the election happened, it was the podcast, the video podcast medium that drove millions of people to make a decision. Imagine what it could do for your business.
Sure.
Imagine what it could do for your brand.
Absolutely.
So the first question I have is with the executives that you're working with and that you have a background with.
Yeah.
What do you think their perception of something like this would be? Would it be an easy sell, or is it something that they would have to kind of get to know a little bit, warm up to? What would you say to an executive level individual?
Well, first of all, I think they have to do it, regardless of how easy or difficult it is, because it depends on the person.
Right.
Some folks, this is extremely easy and they're already trying to do it, okay? Some folks, obviously, this is very difficult because it's just not, they think it's a personality thing. See, I don't think it's a personality thing. I think it's a tool.
Right.
Right? It's a tool.
Right.
And it's just one of those things in your box you got to use. And you have to use it. And what you need is to find some folks you trust that can do it the way you do it here. And once you do that, I know that it will help them build their persona for themselves, for their business, and for their brand. But they have to engage it.
Right.
It's got to be like you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, right? It's got to be that. I know I have to be out front. And I have to be out front with the thoughts that consumers are going to have about my product. I have to lead that. I have to show them what the benefits of what we do to them, right? What we do for them, what effect, how it benefits them. Everybody's out there spending their dollars and their dimes on what benefits them. And you can help that. And what you guys do here at Podstyle, you can help leaders, you can help brands, right? You know, the other day you and I were comparing the impressions that different brands are getting and why. You know, and you and I were just socializing, and we were talking about it, and it was very interesting to see that one brand was doing video 2 or 3 times a week, right, and the other was doing more still image, very nicely done, but still, people like motion,
right.
People like motion.
Well, we know that this content is being consumed.
Right.
Right. And we know that there's all kinds of ways to present content. And we have customers here at Podstyle like yourself who are high-level executive, which means their customers are high-level, high touch, white glove,
Right.
very boutique, what I would call boutique customers. They're MBAs, some of them are MDs, PhDs, etc. It's not what you're saying, it's how you present it, what you're saying.
Right.
Right. And their response is, I could do all kinds of things, but most of it I can't do because I have to present myself to my high ticket customers as a professional and the term that we've coined, trust leader. Right? You've heard the term thought leader, and that's been in existence for about 15 years or so.
Okay.
Right? That's a mantle that's easy to don. But to be a trust leader, that means you got to earn it. Right? There's certain things you have to do, certain things you have to really showcase to be a trust leader.
Sure.
Is that something that you've really focused on with your candidates and your executive teams? Is really don't be a thought leader, really focus on the trust piece, because you've mentioned trust a couple of times.
Yeah, trust is important because when you're dealing with brands, think about when you go to the grocery store, you buy most of the things in the cart are things you trust. You've already tried. They've already delivered for you. It's so important. Now, if you're building something new, you want to get in, if you're building a new product, you want to get in that shopping cart. So you have to get me to basically trust you before I get in, before you get in that shopping cart. The trust is so important of making a choice. Trust is high on that ladder of why and how you make a choice.
Right. So we have a methodology we call like, trust, listen. Right? Like, trust, understand. That's great. Like, trust, listen. Because if I'm listening, really listening to you and consuming you, not just thinking what my response is going to be, but really listening to your message, it's all how it is presented. Let's talk real quick about methodology. I'm a big believer. I'm a military veteran, so it's keep it simple, stupid.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, but it's all about methodology.
Sure.
Our clients expect us to be able to present how great we are.
Yeah.
They expect that.
Right.
But they also want to know, how am I going to get you from alpha to omega?
Right.
So we have a methodology. You have multiple methodologies that you follow and you want your candidates to follow. How do we connect some of those methodologies with content creation and a content strategy to build the candidate's brand?
Right.
Right. So have you kind of thought about, okay, we're going to start with a content strategy that starts with video, that starts with post, that starts with you posting things about your industry? Have you kind of gone into that with your candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're doing a search or an executive search, we absolutely are. One of the things that we look at is we look at all of the social media, of candidates, right? To get them to really understand, what other people think about them. And that's really, really important.
Right.
Because, when you're doing recruiting and you're dealing with executives that should be out there, they should be on social media, right? Their companies should be out there. Their employees should be out there. Everyone should be out there.
Right.
So when you're having these conversations with them, what you're really trying to see is what they tell you consistent with what they're telling, the story that they're consistently telling other places. Is it true? What's their level of commitment to it, right? What's their level of trust in what they're doing is correct, right? Can they teach others to do it? That's really important for them to be successful.
So this is a great caveat. And so let's really dig in. We talked about AI a little bit, but let's really dig into it, and from the perspective of the effects that it's going to have on society and in the business world. The way we look at it, AI is great.
Yeah.
But it is to support your content, support your brand.
Right.
And so, original content, people want to know the real you, right? How are you addressing the mass influx of AI with making sure that the real person, that the real team, the real identity is being presented? How are you matching those?
No, we need answers for that.
Right.
That's very difficult. It's getting more difficult to see what's AI and what's real. And I really don't know the answer to that. That's an open
Right.
question for
Right.
me because it's all evolving, but somebody's got to find the answer to that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Let's cut. We'll edit this. Looks like Bob kind of choking on something.
What happened?
I think something went down a little bit hard. Let me check. We'll edit this.
Okay.
Good flow.
No, it's fun.
You okay? Need to take a break?
Man, what's up?
No, I'm good. I just had a coughing fit.